Hello, and welcome back to Therapist Plays Disco Elysium. So, on today's episode, we're going to catch up with Cindy the Skull, who we haven't actually talked to since the beginning of the game, and I'm curious if she has anything to say about the two aspiring Skull members that we met in the last episode. And after that, we're going to take another look at the expression and what it means as a sort of facade that we have been wearing to cover up some of our most confronting, darkest emotions. There is quite a bit of discussion to have about the journey that we've been on and the process of introspection and what my beliefs as a therapist are about what that process typically looks like. There's a lot to get into, so let's jump in. Oh, the baby. Hello, and welcome back. Okay, so thank you everyone who let me know that going and looking for Ruby right now puts us on a path towards the end of the game. So I'll be very honest with you and say that I'm ready for the end of the game. I have been playing this game for 8 months. And that's a very long time to be only playing one game and working on one creative project. So I'm ready for it. We'll spend a little bit of time finishing up some side quests. But guys, I'm not going to see it all. And I'm not going to try to see it all. It's just time. It's time to wrap this up. So I think what would be good to do this episode is go talk to Cindy the Skull. Because we just had our little encounter with the wannabe skulls. And then we'll do some stuff with Evrart. We'll talk to Joyce. We'll catch up with some of the characters that we haven't seen in a while. And we'll round out some of the corners. And let me know if there's anything that you want to see before we sort of railroad into the end. Because I do think that like the end of the game is going to take a while. I'm probably going to have a lot to say on it. So I don't know how long that final stretch is, but it could be a while. And I really don't want to be still playing this game in December. That's my goal. So yeah, we're going to go talk to Cindy. But guys, I'm ready. I'm ready to say goodbye to Revachol in some sense. As fun as this has been. I'm someone who craves a lot of creative variety. I like to, do different things. Which was one of the reasons to stop doing anime. Because this is somewhat ironic, but I felt like we weren't moving fast enough through the shows. I was only seeing 1 or 2 of them a month. And so I thought, wow, switching to games will get us through things faster. Here I am 8 months later. I've only played 1 game. And I tried to play other things at the same time, but I didn't have the focus to do multiple of them. Now, Disco Elysium is a very dense game. I do not expect, other games to take as much attention. But yeah, I'll just tell you guys right now, what you're seeing right now as far as this Disco playthrough is never going to happen again like this. This is a one-in-a-lifetime thing for me because while I have greatly enjoyed it, I'm so ready to do something else. Okay, let's talk to Cindy. I guess we gotta go. Okay, we can talk to her from down here. Or is it a different dynamic if we go up there? Let's go up there. I don't want to get into a power struggle with Cindy the Skull. By feeling inferior that we're standing below. So we can go up to the balcony. So yeah, let me know if there's any side quests that we have already interacted with that would be good to wrap up. I'm not going to promise we're going to do it all, but we'll try to do a decent amount. Okay. I think this is the balcony we got to go from. All right, Cindy. Tell me more about the skulls. It's been a very long time since we talked to Cindy. We're an entirely different person now. I mean, in the context of the game, it's been like 2 days, but for us, it's been 8 months! Okay, let's talk to her.
Hello again, officers. Have you come to admire my mural?
This time I actually have come to admire the mural. Oh, maybe we should... Let's talk to her first, and then let's see if I can put the jackets on if we'll get any dialogue. The piss guy and fuck the world send their best.
I don't believe it. I've never known those boys to have manners.
The bemusement in her voice doesn't fully mask genuine tenderness.
Oh, so she's fond of them. Maybe. They seem to hold you in high esteem.
They'll never be skulls, but their hearts are in the right place.
I'm starting to think the skulls are not as vicious as we've been told, because Cindy seems to have quite a soft spot of her own. I don't think that the skulls are silly, but I kind of do want to know what they want to achieve. So I'm going to go with this. What are you even trying to achieve? Because I am sort of interested in, like, does something like the skulls emerge out of this desire to have a self-identifying community, one that is that feels like it's standing up to the status quo? Because I could very well see, like, kids or teenagers, I guess Cindy's like in her 20s or something, looking out at the world and saying, what can I belong to? Oh, all of these political ideologies are quite extreme and seem to be aimless in this world, like not achieving very much. And then we have things like moralism, which seems so vague and antithetical to progress and all of these things. And like a very weak substitute for a like clear identifying community. I could see these kids growing up and being like, okay, so the political outlets in this world don't seem to be achieving very much. Why don't we try to do something in our own hands? And because those political hierarchies are so enmeshed in the society, maybe that is something that we can stand against in our own way. And like, it's like a need to provide structure. And I don't like the structure that I see in the political space. So I'm going to provide structure in my own way, which is like breaking down some of that structure, being the kind of community that deconstructs it in a sense. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. I'm kind of curious to see what she says. What are you even trying to achieve?
She throws you a conspiratorial glance, then presses her finger to her lips and squints up at the sky, as though straining to hear something in the distance.
Have you noticed the quiet? Every so often, you might hear a gunshot pierce the air somewhere in Jamrock. But in Martinez, no gunshots, no sirens. The people are languishing in boredom and complacency. This place is a sepulchre. We'll paint it red. We bring the raucous. You bring the sirens.
Okay, so it is sort of like everything is complacent. It's a little too moralist, maybe. We're here to shake things up, to cause a ruckus, like to provide some sort of stimulation, or to create a power struggle so that there's movement in society. I don't know.
What is it with these skulls and cooperation? They have to be the nicest violent street gang in Revachol West.
That's what I was thinking. They're really not as bad as they make themselves out to be. Is that bed in the coal room yours?
Ooh. Not only have you found my address, you've discovered my biggest secret. I'm a coal miner.
Really?
Yes. I keep hoping a shaft will collapse on me, but somehow it never happens.
Don't you have a real home? Probably not.
Does anyone in a city like this?
Okay.
If there's pain about any particular home she's lost, she's buried it deep, fortified herself against it.
Yeah, look, we all have ways of putting distance between us and the things that are upsetting, right? And maybe part of the package of I Belong to the Skulls is, if I had to accept I was a part of the normal society, then where are all my normal society things? I don't have parents. I don't have a home to go to. Like, if I look at the structure of that lifestyle, then I would be faced with a lot of pain and questions about why I don't have those things. And so finding meaning in something like the Skulls, where the package of that community is, you don't need these things. Those are not a part of what a safe and structured life look like for someone like that, could partially be a way to make sense out of those, the absence of those things, right? It's not the nicest place, but I guess it'll have to do.
It doesn't have to do anything at all. Nothing does. Like me. Right now, I'm doing nothing at all.
Okay, I have other questions.
Shoot, Piggy. It's what you do, isn't it?
Ah, man, Cindy, Cindy's a pretty tragic character, I think. Just outside looking in, I mean, we don't really know a lot about her. And it's not fair to be like, oh, your life is tragic, because it's not what I would want, right? That's not what I mean. What I mean is, like, her soft, tender core. There is a, I feel like I look at someone like Cindy and I'm like, man, given a different opportunity or a different path in life, her personality would probably lean towards a very different kind of lifestyle. But this is what's available to her, basically. And the psychological perspective we develop out of that is part of how we survive it, right? And part of how she survives, it seems, is to sort of turn down the volume on her tenderness and her genuine concern for why things don't make sense. If there is pain there, it's buried deep, right? Like, she's had to do a lot of psychological work to sort of disguise those emotions, it seems. Which is, her life's not tragic if she's happy with it. What I mean is, it's tragic that this world just doesn't offer much. That's what's tragic. It's sad. It's fucking sad. I want Cindy and Fritta Girl and Kuno and Kuno S and Lillian's kids and Annette to, like, have more options than they have. It's sad that this is what they sort of gravitate to, and I'm doing nothing at all. I don't know. Cindy's a smart person with good core, a good core of something there. It would be wonderful if she was doing something with that. But again, it's really not. It's not my place. It's certainly not Harry's to be like, I think you should be doing this with your life. That's never been our agenda. It's more like, I don't know. I have a hopeful optimism in my core where I look at people's lives, like, especially in the work that I do. Okay, like, look, a lot of the people that I work with are coming straight out of the criminal justice system. A lot of people who I work with may have done like 20 years or something in prison, and I see a similar thing. I see a similar kind of, like, making sense out of that experience to say that, like, well, I learned a lot of things there, and this is who I am now, and, like, there are certain survival skills that you have to learn in that environment that it's very hard to just, like, throw away when you try to walk back into society. A lot of the work that I'm doing is on on rehabilitating some of those perspectives, because that's why this recidivism rate is so high often, is because we learn these schemas, these blueprints for how to operate in the world and what people are after, and people, you know, or what people are trying to exploit from us. And those are not really compatible with like general society. And we don't do enough to rehabilitate people in that transition point. And so the rules that they've learned to survive like end up often putting them back in, and that's really sad. And that's where I get the like sense of, man, a lot of the people that I meet are quite intelligent and have very innate skills, and when you peel back the layers, there's good people often. And I sort of look at that and think, man, you weren't given the right opportunities, and the world is kind of, it's not leaning in favor of you or your lifestyle. And sometimes it is just about where they grew up, and yes, the politics involved in all of that. I am hyper aware of the political impact of those things, but I'm just not talking about politics with them. They don't really care to talk about politics, and neither do I. At that stage, okay, it's for someone else. But what I mean is that, like, yeah, I don't know what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I just want people to have better lives. That's the very simple point behind all of this. And when I look at why it's hard to have those better lives, it's not all explainable by someone's independent decisions. There are many more factors, and one of those factors is just human psychology sort of asks us to make sense and make meaning and attach to things that help us survive the context that we're in, much like Cindy, much like the two gentlemen we spoke to just before. And sometimes we can very quite clearly see beyond that context and say, yeah, this is not really your nature. If you were given like a very different path, you could have turned out to be a very different person, someone who provides more than deconstructs, let's say, in someone like Cindy's case. So I guess that's all there is to say about Cindy. She doesn't really have any more dialogue for us. Let's see if she has any reaction to us putting on the jacket.
You finally made it, haven't you? People point fingers at you and whisper to each other when you pass by, wondering to themselves, where did that man get such a cool jacket? Did he receive it upon graduating the École Normale Supérieure de Badasserie? Is he dangerous?
Yeah, a danger to myself. What am I doing? This is insane.
Oh no, believe me, it will be everyone else who's uncomfortable with it. You're safe. No one dares say a word unless they're, like, from your station and coming to judge you. But what are the chances of that happening?
Ooh, so maybe we should go talk to the undercover people from our station wearing this as well. I love how composure is just straight up like delusional. It's compromised. It's telling us like, hey, you don't look ridiculous at all. You look like a badass. Everyone thinks that you're cool. It's completely compromised in our own twisted warping of reality. See if we can get Kim to wear it. Okay, maybe not. Maybe we missed that opportunity. I don't think we read these yet. A leather jacket that quite recently belonged to a young man who possessed some intimate knowledge on the human condition. It was his nom de guerre written on the back. It's quite a statement. Okay. And this one. A leather jacket that quite recently belonged to a hoodlum who understood love for what it really is. It has the hoodlum's nom de guerre written on the back. It's quite a statement. Okay, same thing. Interesting.
Hello again, officers. Have you come to admire my mural?
Let's see if this has any extra dialogue.
I
for us.
don't believe.
The bemusement in her voice doesn't fully mask genuine tenderness.
Well, at least we can see what else she has to say about this. I think they're afraid of you.
There'll never be skulls, but their hearts are in the right place.
Okay, it's the same thing then. Skulls are cool. Can I be a skull? I've got the jacket.
Fat chance. But you can still do your part to revitalize the neighborhood.
Okay. How's that?
She throws you a conspiratorial.
Have you noticed the quiet? This place is a...
What is it with these skulls and cooperation? They have to be the nicest violent street gang in River.
I don't believe...
The bemusement in her voice.
There'll never be skulls.
Okay.
Thank you for...
So a lot of it is the same. But, okay, so she sees us doing our part as the archetype of, like, we cause the chaos, you clean it up. We're sort of a Batman and Joker sort of situation where we need each other. If she has nothing to rebel against, then what's the point, right? Okay, I guess that's Cindy. We can wrap that up. I don't think there was any sort of quests attached to her. Yeah, I guess not. Well, while we're in the area, why don't we go talk to Joyce and see if she has any final things to say before we go to the end game. What? She's gone! Went to the village on the coast, officer. See you there. Ah, shit. I mean, I guess she's somewhere over here then. Okay. Well, I guess we won't be talking to Joyce then. Trying to think what else we need to do. There's the church. There's Everett Clare. There's our missing gun. I seem to remember there was something we could do to, like, forge the signatures of people. Why don't we do that? We're gonna forge some signatures because I really don't want to be... I don't want to be an advocate for Everett. But maybe we can get some sort of gymnasium built for these kids on his dime. I don't like the political message it sends for him, but we gotta do something. Yes, okay. So we already shaved.
An old mirror hangs on the wall. You see your reflection in it.
We don't have enough electrochemistry to get rid of the expression. Well, maybe we can give it a shot. Anything for electrochemistry? Got some gloves. Got some pants. Got whatever this is. Okay. We're getting somewhere.
The pockets of these new jeans are perfect for sticking your hand into. Makes you look cool, calm, and collected. As your hand enters the pocket, your fingers brush against something. Soft, yet crinkly.
Okay.
Hey, it's a chewing gum wrapper. It reminds you of the fruity juice of apricots. You should inspect it closer if you have time. Something about the wrapper's texture is familiar. Not familiar in a good way, you might say. There's pain in there somewhere.
Apricot chewing gum.
There it is again. The scent of apricots with a touch of cinnamon. Smells like the end of some distant summer. The surface of another planet or some ancient temple.
The end of summer.
The sun sets into the sea, but the water does not boil. Instead, it turns to liquid gold. For a moment, the world's store of precious metals seems to increase dramatically, and you are rich.
Disco Elysium is the only game where having a piece of candy wrapper in your pocket produces such eloquent prose.
There is a movement next to you, the shuffle of a small coat, warm like the evening. But when you turn toward it, there's nothing there.
Where did it go?
Why are you talking to a gum wrapper?
I don't look at I was compelled by your guidance, voice of the void, to interact with it. Ancient temple.
Yes, from the height of antiquity, a long, long time ago, millennia ago, on an island of time you can never return to.
Like a deep, deep breath.
Bitter, citrus, sweet. It seems to grow stronger, like a glow, with every breath you take.
Okay.
Until a blossom of skin and flower petals erupts behind your closed eyes. Made of toffee, cream, and distance. You just had to take a dive.
Man, the dialogue from this specific interaction of the gum wrapper. I don't know if any of you are familiar with an author named Catherine Valente. She's a favorite of mine, and her book Radiance is probably the best written. I would say best written in terms of delicious prose. It's maybe not the best written in some other category like narrative or character, although those are quite good as well. But if you really like the way Disco Elysium is written, especially at times like this, where there is just such a variety and beautiful cadence of vocabulary, and every line just makes you feel like you're biting into a creamy piece of toffee, then Radiance is the book for you. Radiance by Catherine Valente. Every single line in that book, I have to stop and think about I can't believe a sentence can be constructed this way. It's just so delicious. Anyways, that's a recommendation for you, Radiance. It very much reminds me of this kind of dialogue, and all her books are written like that as well. She has a very distinct style.
Your heart working overtime, trying to keep up with the panicked synapses firing all over your brain, moving liters of blood through you, panicking.
5 liters of blood through my brain cells.
Feels so familiar.
Okay, let's put the wrapper away. That was a very interesting little interaction.
An old mirror hangs on the wall. You see your...
Okay, let's put one into electrochemistry and see if we can get I mean, we're gonna be at 8.
An old mirror hangs on the wall. You see your reflection in it. The expression fixed to your clean-shaven face.
Okay, I thought it would be higher. I thought somehow this would put us over the edge, but... Guess we don't have anything else that can give us electrochemistry, do we? Alright.
An old mirror hangs on the wall. You see your reflection in it. The expression fixed to your clean-shaven face. You're still not accustomed to it.
We've passed 58%ers before. Let's fucking go.
It's like something snaps in you.
Yes!
A nerve ending. A thought. A sadness. Your face in the mirror is suddenly clean of the layer that had distorted it for God knows how long. Just like that, it's over. The running gag that your life had become. A sad old man looks back at you.
Oh. So our expression is gone, and now we have a very sad Harry looking back at us. Let's unpack this for a second. It's like something snaps in you, a nerve ending, a thought, a sadness. Your face in the mirror is suddenly clean of the leer that had distorted it for God knows how long. Just like that, it's over. The running gag of your life, that your life had become. A sad old man looks back at you. So this may not be everyone's perspective, and certainly not every mental health professionals, but I find that the best work we do on ourselves comes when we are able to look very honestly at our lives. And sometimes that means a little bit of rupture and repair with our self-identity. It does mean like we have to dig out these compensations, these ways that we have designed our perception to bend around the things that we're uncomfortable with about ourselves. And sometimes that means you get a little worse before you get better, because you start to challenge the distorted, warped thinking that is compensation for not having a strong self-concept, right? This is that process of deconstruction and reconstruction that I'm always talking about. We sort of deconstruct the narrative of, you know, everything is fine. I'm a super cop. I'm the best fucking cop in the world. Everybody loves me. Everyone thinks I'm cool. Just look at the cool jacket that I'm wearing. Composure is like totally bought into this facade, right? When you deconstruct those things, you sort of are shocked at what you find. That actually underneath all of this clutter facade, I'm a genuinely sad person. I have an alcohol problem. I tried to kill myself. The only person I have a faint memory of loving despises me and wants nothing to do with me. My partner is barely on the edge of respecting me enough just to spend a little bit of time with me and deal with my issues. I'm not the archetype of a structure providing adult that the youth we keep interacting thinks that I am. Like, we would be deconstructing a lot of what Harry believes about himself over the course of this game to come to a moment where we can say, yeah, none of this is true. And that's completely okay, because now we're at a cleaner foundation to, like, let's build something on top of this Harry that is right. Let's reconstruct a narrative about his life that is more based in reality. Reality therapy is also a style of therapy that I'm not super well versed in, but it has also to do with understanding the ways that we sort of bend our perception around what is real and what sort of compensatory behaviors that might lead to. The things that we tell ourselves are okay to do, or the things that we tell ourselves are good aspects of our personality that come from places of pain or some sort of self-deception, right? So while I'm sad that Harry now looks like a sad clown of a man, I also, at this point in the therapy process, which I have reached many, many times with people where they have a similar revelation about, like, okay, I'm in some level of denial about my life. It's at that moment that I'm like, okay, but this is encouraging for us. We can finally do some of the real work that's necessary. And we have a very honest canvas to develop from. Whereas if we were developing on top of the Harry with the expression, how do we know how much of that is genuine when there's an aspect of it that is built on a facade, right? So I wanted to bring this back into the discussion. I think we did this for Harry like a long time ago at this point. And maybe there's a point where we do another one. This is the Johari window. Again, this was like 1,000 years ago that we first talked about this, so it's worth revisiting the concept. Is a tool that I sometimes use to reach points like this. And I'm not going to do the whole writing thing right now. Like I said, we'll come back to that process maybe closer to the end of the game and see where things ended up. But I will often use this with people when we are trying to explore these aspects of our lives that are difficult to perceive without intervention. And the idea here is that there are things about you that is known to you and known to others. This is like, I'm a cop. That's something I know. That's something everyone else knows. I have an alcohol problem. Everybody knows this, right? There are parts of our personality that are quite open to everyone's visibility. There are things that are known about ourselves and not known to other people, and this is the facade, right? This is part of the mask that we wear. That's like things that I'm aware of, but I don't let other people see. You know, I'm actually a sad person in reality. I'm not a super cop. Like maybe these are some of the things that Harry is starting to realize about himself, that we have not really shown to other people, right? I think that the expression was something that actually belonged here. It was not known to self, nor known to other people. In fact, it was hidden to us until right now, right? Like where the sad running gag of our life is over now. And we're able to face this. So a lot of times when we're doing this sort of character study in therapy, we discover that things that belong here, not known to self, not known to others, travel to the facade where it's like, okay, I'm seeing this now, but I haven't shown it to other people, right? Or maybe it's shot right here, depending on how people react to this. But when there is travel about these things, and when there is relationships between where they end up, we start to discover parts of the personality that we didn't necessarily know about. For example, right? I'll just use myself as a personal example, where I think that I know that I used to be a quite arrogant person. Maybe some people think I still am, and maybe there's parts of me that are. But there's a part of my old self that I'm like, yeah, I can see very clearly that I was very arrogant and had these very strong convictions about things that I had no business having them about. Okay. I would put this in my blind spot because people could see it. It was known to others, but not known to myself. People would look at what I was saying and say, like, yeah, you're so arrogant about what you believe. And I wasn't really willing to critically evaluate that for a long time because I was mistaken about what it meant to have a strong opinion. What I learned through my own work on myself is that this was compensation, right? I did not have a lot of self-confidence in myself at the time, but I sort of needed to feel like I did. Like it was very hard to recognize that I didn't have a very high opinion of myself. And so what this came out as is, well, if I'm saying things with very strong conviction and I stand very tall on those beliefs, when I hear myself say that, I must have strong convictions. I must have a strong self-belief. And deep down there was like, oh, I'm actually really insecure about lots of things. And this is just how it's coming out. I thought that if you had a strong opinion, that meant that you had a strong personality. And so I would say it very loudly and not budge on it. Now you may find me to be a lot more non-committal to things. Maybe you see this in some of the discussions with politics where like, I'm not afraid, but I'm very wary, I would say, of like holding very strongly to a conviction, because when I see that in myself, I'm like, oh, that reminds me of how I was before, and I don't like that person. I don't want to be that way, because I know that if I ever start getting like that, to me, that alerts me to what I learned from a process like this, which is when people see arrogance, it's a part of my blind spot, because I didn't think I was being arrogant. But when they made it known to me, right, it traveled from not known to self, known to others, to known to self, known to others. When I became aware of it, I realized something that was more down here, which is you're not very confident in yourself. And when I learned about that, when that insecurity was discovered down here, I was willing to, what I'm doing right now is I'm bringing it up here. Maybe it's not known to other people, but it's known to me that I have some insecurities. And when I bring them into the arena, it sort of dispels the blind spot in some ways, right? That travel of I'm making something that is private open to people, and I'm doing the rigorous self-critique. It's why I was so excited by that idea, because to me it signifies this process of bringing something that is very confronting about the self from the unknown to the facade and to the arena up here, or taking something from the blind spot to the arena, and really challenging it and letting people, in on some of the vulnerable parts of you, so that you also don't have to be afraid of them, right? That you don't have to fear people's judgment if you let them know you're not perfect, which I'm not, and neither is anyone, right? But I was very defensive about this before in my life, where it's like, no, I have to pretend to myself that it's a danger to change your mind. It's a danger to apologize. And I'm very much over that now. I have plenty to apologize for, and I have plenty to work on, right? But I'm happy to be honest about that, because I don't want to live like this. I don't want to live with my life in the unknown or in the facade, where I go around thinking that if I said something that offended someone, I have to double down on this because changing your mind is a weak personality. No. If I get something wrong, I got it wrong, and I can change my opinion and know that there's plenty of blind spots. This whole thing with Kim at the beginning of this series was a huge blind spot for me, right? And just some of the cultural nuance of that. And it was important to bring that over here and discover that there were some, uncomfortable biases that I didn't know I had, that now I do know I have and can work on them. So allowing yourself to confront these uncomfortable parts and let them be rigorously self-critiqued with some amount of self-kindness is important for the psychological work, right? And so I see that in Harry as well. As much as we work on ourselves and we notice the relationship between what's in these different categories, yes, it is painful. Yes, it makes us sad. I think it's not a coincidence that electrochemistry is the skill that we have to check to do this, because it is it's quite terrifying to do this kind of work on yourself, right? And a lot of what enabled this self-deception was drugs and alcohol and those sorts of things. I could also see Half-Light being a component of this, right? So yeah, that's kind of my perspective on what some of this work is worth doing. It's not always fun. You can just see that on Harry's face. He's quite miserable about it. But it is worth doing. And it's when reconstruction can take place. And I can work on something and say, look, I can recognize arrogance now as compensation for insecurity. And hopefully this affords me maybe some humility, but it also can go too far. And sometimes it can come out as like, why are you so non-committal? You don't want to take a stance on your political opinions because you're afraid of offending people. And it's like, yeah, because I have before and I don't want to go there again. I haven't landed in the perfect balance of like, I do have lots of strong opinions, especially political ones, but I just don't like being super public about them because I don't know, I just find that it leads to a lot of tension. And that's only one subject. There's other things. I used to be just really arrogant about this kind of therapy is garbage. That people who practice this are stupid. Like, it just was dumb. It was not being confident enough in my own skills as a therapist. And so it was like, talk shit about everything that's not in your area so that you can feel like you really know what you're talking about. Like, it was just dumb. It was immature. But I'd much rather know that. I'd much rather know that about myself and realize that it's uncomfortable and it's a weak part of my personality than say, well, I made the statement and it's more embarrassing to admit I was wrong, so I'm just going to double down. No, fuck that. I'd much rather just say that was stupid and immature and I'm sorry. Because I don't think apologies are a sign of weakness. I think they're a sign of maturity in some sense. Maybe you disagree. I'm curious to see what you think about that. And have you ever been confronted with parts of your personality in a similar way that made you very uncomfortable, but were very rewarding experiences because they told you they alerted you to the need to work on something? Because I've certainly had my share of those, and have plenty more to do as well. So, we've gotten rid of the expression. Now I'm curious to see what people comment on it, because it is no longer in our unknown that other people don't know how deeply sad we are, nor do we know. But now we can kind of see it. We're kind of... It's coming out of the unknown and into the facade, and maybe now people can see it, and what does that change about us in people's eyes? Maybe it was even something in our blind spot, and people could see that we were kind of sad. I think Acel especially, that was a moment where she saw our blind spot, where she was like, you're upset about some chick, not politics. But for Harry, it's like part of his denial and his compensation, and he says to himself, no, I'm just really upset about society. And it's like, no, dude, you're upset about like your heartbreak. And in the knowing of that, we've moved it to the arena, and we can look at it objectively and say, yeah, okay, I actually am really upset about this. And while that hurts, I'm not in denial about it anymore. And I can stop pretending that these are external frustrations with the world and society and the archetype of women and whatever else we've been compensating on, and recognize that it's like a very inner thing, that like we fucked up. We were not a good partner. We were not a good person before. And it's like incredibly confronting to realize some of that stuff. We weren't a stable cop. We tried to kill ourselves. Like all of that stuff coming from all of these areas and into the arena, it is like absolutely destructive for Harry's psyche at the beginning and has fucked him up. But it is, it's led to some of the most profound growth, I also think, which has made us really want to change that lifestyle. I sort of, my perspective on the process of change is that it goes from awareness to insight to change, right? And those steps. Awareness is necessary before insight, because insight means you have a deeper understanding about something, and you cannot get a deeper understanding if you're not fully aware of what the problem is, right? You have to be confronted by some of these things and peel back those layers of self-deception first. Only then can you get the kind of insight you need to understand, why was I doing this? Why was I being so arrogant or whatever? Why was I trying to be the super cop? And why am I so, you know, why am I so deep in these political perspectives or using them as a facade? And with that insight and understanding of, oh, I can see what I've been covering up, then change becomes possible. Then real modification to behavior. Because a lot of times we just go straight to the change part and say, oh, well, I need to stop smoking. Oh, I need to stop being a jerk. And we can try to just make lateral changes to our personality, but without those first two components, I feel like you don't have a lot of success. You need awareness, and that's why a tool like this is great. To understand the travel and meaning behind where things are in your personality, to have the insight to know why they were there and why they are traveling now, and then to ask, what would it mean to change from this? So, pretty important moment for Harry and for us, and curious to see how things change in people's perspective about us. Well, I think that's a good place to pause for now. Let me know, like I said, what kinds of other side quests we should wrap up before we head into the end game. Because, like all things, this playthrough must end eventually. And I'll talk a little bit more about what I'm going to do after that when the time comes. For now, let's just focus on... yeah, clearing out what we need to and enjoying the rest of this journey. So let me know, and I will see you next time.